The leopard lay beneath a twisted banyan tree. Its breaths were shallow, its eyes glazed, and its body torn from a fight. It didn't win. Once a proud predator, now reduced to silence and pain, hidden beneath the jungle canopy. The forest, so often its kingdom, offered no shelter now. Birds circled above, their cries echoing the leopard's plight. Insects crawled along its fur, each movement a torment. It had no strength left to growl, no will to run. Death wasn't creeping up on it. It was waiting for it. But then footsteps. Human footsteps. Soft, careful, alone. The leopard's ears twitched, but it didn't turn its head. It didn't have the strength. Or maybe it knew who was coming. The man stopped a few feet away and knelt down. Now, this man, he was not a hunter, not a ranger, just a man who walked alone into the wild unknown. He had heard the stories of this place, tales of wounded animals, angry spirits in the trees, danger in the leaves. But he came anyway. Some say he followed the sound of crying in his sleep. Others believe he was called by something deeper, an unexplainable pull towards the wild symphony of the forest. He wasn't carrying any weapons, no spears, no bows and arrows. He had no companions either, no guides or trackers, just himself and the dense foliage surrounding him. When he looked at the leopard, he didn't flinch, he didn't run. He knelt, he took out a small canteen from his bag, poured some water into the palm of his hand, and slowly dripped it into the creature's cracked lips. Now, that's all it takes sometimes. A little bit of kindness, a drop of water in the desert, to make a connection that defies the odds. The leopard's eyes, meeting his. No roar, no resistance, just pain. The man dipped his hand again, letting the cool liquid trickle down the leopard's dry muzzle. This continued for a while. The only sounds, the dripping water and the rustle of the wind through the leaves. It was a delicate dance between life and death, a balance as fragile as the leopard's shallow breaths. After a while, the man took off his shirt, ripped the sleeve into strips, and dipped it into a nearby stream. He returned to the leopard and gently dabbed its wounds, each movement slow, careful, and precise. It was clear he wasn't trying to tame this wild creature, but something deep within him compelled him to help. Maybe it was a memory from long ago, a whisper from his ancestors, or simply a human heart responding to another being's suffering. The leopard didn't bite. It didn't try to run away. Its body twitched, but its eyes never left the man's. They were locked in a silent conversation, two souls bridging the divide of species. Each minute that passed was a testament to the man's patience and resolve. Trust is a fragile thing, especially between a wounded predator and a human. But something about the man's gentle touch and quiet determination seemed to soothe the wild creature. As the days turned into nights, the man turned the area near the banyan tree into a refuge for the leopard. He built a small lean-to nearby, not to confine the animal, but to shield it from the elements and curious eyes. He brought food, but never got too close. He just left it near the shelter and waited. Slowly, miraculously, the leopard began to stir. It stood up on shaky legs, limping at first, then walking more steadily. The man never approached it directly. He just watched from a distance, letting the leopard come to him. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the leopard, now mostly healed, disappeared into the jungle. The man didn't follow. He just stood there, watching the spot where the leopard had been hiding. For a long time, he couldn't be sure if it would return. Vasantha told him that the bond they had formed was strong enough to bring the leopard back. And as if to prove his instincts right, the leopard did come back. It walked slowly out of the trees, pausing for a moment as if to acknowledge the man. Then it turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows. The man turned and walked the other way, heading deeper into the forest. He left without fanfare. No photo, no proof, just the memory of a shared moment etched in their hearts. The trees rustled as if applauding their silent drama. The birds sang their evening songs, and the very soil seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The story ended, not with a bang, but with the whisper of the wind through the leaves, a melody that echoed the leopard's tale. And those who heard it knew that sometimes the wildest stories are written not in roars and chase, but in the quiet moments of connection between a man and a wild beast. Now, the silence between them wasn't awkward. It was comfortable, like two old friends catching up after a long time. Neither of them felt the need to fill the quiet with chatter. They understood each other in a language beyond words, a language of shared experiences and quiet strength. The leopard, with its majestic presence, represented the untamed wildness of nature, a force that demanded respect and admiration. The man, with his gentle touch and quiet determination, embodied the resilience and resourcefulness of the human spirit. Together, they formed an unlikely pair, a study in contrasts that somehow worked. Their bond wasn't just about the physical act of healing. It was about bridging the divides that separated them, the differences in species, size, and experience. It was about finding common ground in their shared vulnerability, their capacity for pain, and their will to survive. And in doing so, they challenged the stereotypes and fears that often defined their relationship. Because in that quiet clearing beneath the banyan tree, there was no room for the preconceived notions that clouded human-animal interactions. There was only the raw reality of two beings trying to understand and help each other. This wasn't a fairy tale where the leopard suddenly became a docile house cat, or the man tamed the wild beast. It was a story about acceptance and understanding. The man accepted the leopard for what it was, a magnificent creature deserving of respect and dignity, and in doing so, he earned the leopard's trust and loyalty. It wasn't about power or control, it was about connection and empathy. The man didn't try to dominate the leopard or force it into submission. He approached it with humility and care, recognizing that it was he who had trespassed into the leopard's domain. As the days passed, the dynamic between them shifted. The man wasn't just a visitor bringing food and water. He became a constant presence in the leopard's life, a steady rock amidst the wild uncertainty of the jungle. Their days were filled with routine and ritual. The leopard would emerge from the jungle, drawn by the man's presence. They would spend hours together, the man tending to the leopard's needs and the leopard basking in the warmth of his companionship. This wasn't just about survival, it was about healing. The leopard's wounds weren't just physical, they were emotional, too, born from fear and mistrust. The man's presence slowly chipped away at these barriers, revealing the gentle, trusting animal beneath. The leopard's transformation was gradual, almost imperceptible. At first, it was wary and skittish, always ready to bolt. But as the weeks turned into months, it became more relaxed in the man's presence. It would purr, a low rumble in its chest, and rub against his legs. Its rough tongue, a sandpapery caress. The man's own transformation was no less profound. He wasn't the same man who had entered the jungle all those months ago. He was weathered, his clothes torn and faded, his skin tanned and scarred. But his eyes were different. They held a new kind of wisdom, a quiet understanding born of his connection with the wild. He understood the leopard's need for solitude, its desire to roam free. So when the day came, when the leopard decided to leave, he didn't try to stop it. He just watched as it melted back into the green, taking a piece of his heart with it. He knew that their paths might cross again, that the bond they had forged was too strong to be broken. But he also knew that the true measure of his success wasn't in keeping the leopard by his side, but in helping it reclaim its life in the wild. Their story wasn't a one-off encounter or a fleeting moment in time. It was a testament to the enduring power of connection. It was a reminder that compassion and understanding could bridge the divides that separated them. If you found this story touching and want more stories like this, please subscribe. Your support means the world to me. Thank you for listening.